one of your teams, the Warriors, suffered a brutal loss. Steph Curry, shoulder injury.
This is like your primary team.
Require surgery, which means that, it's good for his recovery time, but he is going to miss a couple of weeks. We saw them play Philly without Curry. It was an okay game for the most part, but, Philly, they did what they usually do with Harden and Embiid in the lineup. They pulled away from the game. Jordan Poole had a good game.
Yes, he did.
So what are your thoughts on the Warriors moving forward without Steph Curry being in the lineup?
Well, I think just in totality of the season, you can chalk it up to one word: inconsistency. We're one of the best teams at home, one of the worst teams on the road. The starting five is literally one of the best starting fives in the league, and the bench is one of the worst benches in the league. Dog shit. Steph's going to be out. It's going to be tough. He was playing at an MVP level. He's playing like one of the best players in the world. You can see Father Time hasn't hit him yet. Jordan Poole starting. He has shown the ability to be a really good starter when he starts. Klay Thompson has been good his last 7-8 games. He's gotten it going. His shot selection for me has been more of the thing. He's stopped taking bad shots, and he's been taking just good shots, trying to get in the groove. The defense has stepped up a little bit. Dante DiVincenzo had a really good game last game. I think the last two games, especially like when Steph Curry, you saw he was gassed against the Pacers. When he went out, you see the Golden State Warriors make a little rally, try to get back in the game towards the end. And then in the Philly game, you saw defensively how amazing they were against the Philadelphia Sixers. And then towards the end, you just saw offensively they couldn't keep up. That was a game also without Andrew Wiggins and Draymond Green. So I think if Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins get back in the lineup, I think possibly that's a win in that mark. But just going forward, it's going to be tough because you lose. You can't just substitute 30 points on 50, 40, 90 shooting, no matter what team you are in the NBA.
It's one of the second best player.
It's the best shooter in the world. You can't just plug that in. But what you can do is make up for what he doesn't offer on the defensive end. You can lock in on the defensive end, make games close, make games small margins in scoring, and then offensively, you're going to need more from Klay. You're going to need more from Poole. You're going to need more from Andrew Wiggins. You're going to need to make that bench. Involved. That bench has to put in work. Kuminga has been well lately. Moody has to figure it out. You still need to make a move regardless. I still think this team is a move away from being back in that championship spot because you have the starting five, you have the core, you got Jordan Poole.
Is that move still Jakob?
It can be. I think either a center or a switchable wing. I think a wing that can space the floor, guard 1 through 4, certain fives. I think that's something. Even 2 moves would be cool, but I think that one, because you got Poole and Kuminga, I think Kuminga certified a spot off the bench. I'm tired of seeing JaMychal Green. I'm tired of seeing Anthony Lamb. I truly am tired of seeing them play basketball. The starting five is firm, but I think right now, if you can hover around the 500 range, stay within a game or two over or under, and then Steph gets back, you then made a move to get somebody on that bench, I think you can cleanly be comfortable where you're at, run back in the table, get back in the playoffs. And for the Warriors, they just want to get in.
All right, so you mentioned it. A lot of things that Steph Curry brings to the table. This season, with Steph Curry on and off the court, there is a 20-point difference in offensive efficiency when he's not on the court. In terms of net rating, when he's on the court, of course, he's a +7. When he's off, it's a -11. And the three-point efficiency, we're talking about the greatest shooter in the history of the game, it's a 7-point difference where when they're on the court, they're shooting 40%. When he's off, they're shooting 33%. Of course, that has to do with Steph Curry's gravity and the impact that he carries for the Golden State Warriors. But to go into a little bit of what you were saying, I feel like, yes, this is now time to hone in on defense where Steph kind of lacks, but that's not because of skill set. That's just due to ability because he's not the tallest of dudes. He's not the biggest of guys. But also another thing that I want to get involved is, you said it, Kuminga. Let's get Moody more involved. Maybe this might be an opportunity, which I highly doubt. James Wiseman, now maybe he starts to get involved in the offense a little bit. I feel like this now should be the Warriors' prime time where they're not playing the level of basketball that we saw anywhere near what we saw last year. Of course, the starting five is really good, but the rest of the team really is not up to par yet. This is their time to really lock in and hone in on their skill sets, start to learn how to play basketball without their saving grace right now, Steph Curry. You have guys like Kuminga who been inconsistent, but for the majority, he's been an okay ball player. Moses Moody also inconsistent. James Wiseman, more so bad than good so far. Andrew Wiggins has missed time. Draymond Green has missed some time. Poole has been the epitome of the word inconsistent, where more so I'm starting to not like his game because I feel like people start to overrate him too much because the whole big story was that off the bench, he's not this great of a ball player, but in the starting lineup, he's great. That has to do with Steph Curry getting a majority of the attention. Now that Steph Curry isn't on the court, what can you do for me, Poole? He did have a great game last night, but for the future, can you remain consistent and be this ball player that everyone wants you to be or everyone feels that you can be? So it's going to be an interesting test, especially for the fact that They are games under 500. They're in that same realm with my Lakers. So if you want to throw some disrespect to the Lakers, you got to throw some disrespect to the Warriors as well. I'm just saying. But on a serious note, it's going to be very interesting to see how they start to get these younger guys involved.
I think whenever there's an injury, there's opportunity, right? And you guys have talked about the players who can step up or possibly make a move. But I think one thing you have to look at is just this is a chance for a lot of these players just to build some confidence. You know, Steph Curry, obviously, he gives you 30 a night. He's one of the best players in the world. But now you have some other guys that get some opportunity to score, to put up points, and just overall gain their confidence. Now, wouldn't say this is a necessary positive for the Warriors, even though you're getting some of these young guys more involved. Losing Curry is going to be huge. I mean, you've already lost 5 out of your last 6. That one win was against the Celtics, and especially for this Warriors team, which we have a decent sample size that shows us they are one of the worst road teams in the NBA. Seeding is going to be probably more important than we thought coming into the season, right? Coming in, we thought, okay, just get into the playoffs, we'll figure it out. But now you guys are barely a play-in team. So now if you're a play-in team, but also a road play-in team, I do think you guys will climb up the standings. But it's just one more thing to think about, that having that home court advantage, even though it is just one game in the NBA playoffs, might be going a long way for this Warriors team who have just some insane home road splits. So I think that's important as well. But then lastly, this is part of the reason why you paid Jordan Poole, right? You give him that $100 million, not only because you see him as the future and he could help you right now, whether it's on the bench or starting, but when he does start, we do see his splits and we do see his numbers increase. And while he can be an inconsistent ball player, he's still a young ball player too, right? So he's still, I wouldn't say finding his footing in this league, because he has a $100 million contract. His spot is solidified in this Warriors team, but to become more a consistent player, being able to, start consistently, now you're going to have a month basically, right, to be able to starter night in and night out. Hopefully he finds some more consistency.
Maybe longer than that, dude. It could be out. Curry could be out more longer than anyone thinks.
For sure. And then if you also think a month from now, that's like mid-January, the All-Star breaks, beginning of February as well. So if they want to be extra cautious with him. But a lot of it's going to have to do with what this team looks like a month from now. How many games are you out of the play-in, if you are out, or out of that playoff top 6?
This is disastrous for Golden State. There's really no other way to put it. Steph Curry means so much to this team that not having him can have them at the end of the season being a play-in team or trying to get into that area. The West is loaded right now. Steph Curry is going to miss 15 to 20 games at least. Bare minimum. The Warriors last season without Steph went 8-10. 2 years ago, they were 2-7. This team is a 500 team when Steph doesn't play. And not to mention, Steph isn't the only one that is hurt. Andrew Wiggins is in and out the lineup. He's been dealing with an injury. Draymond Green was listed out with a quad injury on Friday versus the Sixers. Draymond last year missed time. This team is not the most durable team. And this team does not have the luxury they did last season, where they had a lot of depth and veteran presences to keep the team afloat as much as they can without Steph. This is a jarring statistic about the Warriors' shot quality. When Steph Curry's on the court, they have the best shot quality of any team in the NBA.
Which makes sense.
When he's off, it's 22nd in the NBA, which is bottom 20 shot quality in the league. I do think Jordan Poole played better in the Philly game in the first half. He was very patient. He was trusting the system. In the second half, he went and found his offensive rhythm. But this puts the Warriors as a team that they're going to make the play-in maybe. There's a chance that they could slip out, though, because a lot of teams in the West are playing very good basketball right now. And I don't think this helps them in any way. You now move Jordan Poole to the starting lineup. The Warriors' bench was already the last in net rating in the NBA. Their bench was last in net rating. Jordan Poole moving to being a starter doesn't help that at all. And now playing off of Clay, Dre, it's going to be tough. Jordan Poole and Draymond Green, when they do play together and they're in the same lineup, their net rating is a positive. But I don't think you can rely on solely Poole and Draymond lineups for that. Clay has been playing better, but he's inconsistent. ESPN right now has the Warriors playoff odds at 61%, and they're the projected 8th seed. I think that seems about fair. Curry missing this much time, I think it's going to be disastrous for Golden State. When Curry comes back, he has to be a borderline superhero for this team to get a top 8 seed or be in the play-in.
Which he can be.
Yeah, he can be, but it's going to be very hard.
I think, luckily, he's already been a superhero, for the majority of the year. So luckily,
absolutely,
It's luckily he's shown he still has that in him, right? I think the beauty of it, like you said it best, they've been a pretty much close to a 500, under 500 team without Steph Curry, so that's good. But they didn't have the requisite pieces on the bench to really fit that right now. But if you look at the West, right? Utah 17-14, Clippers 17-14, Dallas 15-14, Minnesota 14-15, even Portland 16-13. So
Super close.
if you're able to just maintain around that, and with a little bit of prayer, a little bit of luck, and all
Wiggins returning to practice,
and all the
That's
other
huge.
teams stay in that area, then there should be no reason why you come in, Steph comes back, and you're like 2-3 games out of 16, and you're like, all right.